So in the meantime, you've got this. President Trump, after going on offense over the weekend, now switching course, doing a 180, now calling on House Republicans to vote for the release of the Epstein files. More on that in a moment, but first, David Spunt with the latest on the new details in the investigation. David, hello and good morning.
Hi, Bill. Good morning to you. There is an active probe taking place out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, where federal prosecutors there are looking at the Epstein files and ties, but not to President Trump, instead to former President Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and others. Now, the Justice Department, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, is now back in the business of looking into the Epstein file story. I say back in the business because just in July, this DOJ couldn't get away from the story fast enough, putting out a memo on July 6th reading, quote, "To that end, while we have labored to provide the public with maximum information regarding Epstein and ensured examination of any evidence in the government's possession, it is the determination of the Justice Department and of the FBI that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted." Well, that's until President Trump asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate Summers and Clinton's alleged ties to Epstein. That's when many of the president's supporters, though, back in July, became enraged, fully believing there was more to the story, laying blame directly on FBI Director Patel and Attorney General Bondi. Former President Clinton's deputy chief of staff posting over the weekend, these emails prove Bill Clinton did nothing and knew nothing. The rest is noise meant to distract from election losses, backfiring shutdowns, and who knows what else. Now, critics say the DOJ, the same DOJ that accused the Biden administration of weaponizing, is just as weaponized under President Trump, prosecuting the president's perceived enemies. Former FBI Director James Comey, New York AG Letitia James, and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, to name a few, are facing federal charges. The president has also called for an investigation into California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, and we reported late last week that the president's housing director, Bill Pulte, referred Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell to the Justice Department over allegations of potential mortgage fraud. Bill.
Okay, a lot to keep track of, and you will. Thank you, David, for that. David Spunt, Washington. Dana?
And more on this with Fox News contributor Hugh Hewitt. Let me just read to you from Trump's Truth Social post on Epstein. House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. I think this falls into the category of what I used to call you need to be for what's going to happen. This vote was going to happen, and it looked like he was going to lose 40 Republicans, so now he's for it.
It is better, good morning, Dana. It is better to be playing offense than defense. It is better to declare, finally, I don't care, put everything out that you can put out. Now, you can't put out grand jury material. There are reasons for that. But the president is showing he's not afraid of it. And given everything that was leaked over the last 2 weeks and nothing laid a glove on him, I think he's doing the right thing by saying, be in favor of what's going to happen, as you noted, and just say, I don't care. So I think the president made a good choice here.
Hugh, game this out then. If the House goes forward, at what point would the American public be able to see all these emails?
I think the moment that the House spreads them around the House, they'll begin to leak. And when they begin to leak, we'll begin to see more emails with a lot of people who will suffer unfair association with Jeffrey Epstein because they didn't know that he was a pedophile and a creep and a criminal, and they had an email exchange with him. That's very unfortunate. It makes a lot of people look guilty. But I think it'll be almost instantaneous upon the release of the file that people who are not supposed to leak things will leak whatever they think might hurt or help their friends or foes, respectively.
Yeah, I wonder if there'd be redactions. Remember what the president said a while ago? He said there are a lot of innocent people going to be caught up in this.
Yeah.
Just by implication,
well, that's why grand jury.
Guilty.
Yeah, grand jury stuff is never let go. In fact, full field background investigations that the FBI does before they are sent up to the Senate for confirmation. You never turn those loose because people say crazy stuff all the time. They have vendettas. They make stuff up. And we're going to get a lot of that, and a lot of people are going to get dirty as a response. But as a result, the president said, I've had it. I've got nothing to do with this guy. Let the chips fall.
Okay, on another topic, Hugh, since the 2025 election just a couple of weeks ago, a lot of things are now in motion for 2026 and 2028 even. And James Carville is basically saying that the Democrats, should they win in 2026, they should pack the court. Watch here.
I mean, this is the lowest the Supreme Court has been rated. And if you believe, as I do, that we need faith in not just the executive or the congressional branch of government, but the Supreme Court. And it is not written anywhere in the Constitution you have to have 9. The Supreme Court does not serve the law. It serves the interests of the Republican Party and corporate America, and everybody knows that. And I think it would be a good idea to return some balance to it. I really do.
You know, folks like that used to be against such radical ideas, but now, Hugh, is it becoming mainstream for Democrats to think this is a good idea?
I'm very shocked by that. James Carville is a very smart guy. He knows that packing the court would be the end of the rule of law in America. It's been at 9 since 1868. There's a good argument, in fact, that the 14th Amendment would not allow a bill to expand it. They were passed concurrently, but in the same period of time. The most it's ever been is 10. The moment you start packing the court to get a result that you want is the moment that we no longer have rule of law in the United States. Right. And that's very troubling to hear a guy as smart as James Carville say something as wildly irresponsible for the best interest of the country as that.
But he went further than that with Kayleigh's interview. He talked about D.C. and Puerto Rico. I mean, this has been debated back and forth as a foolish game, but Carville's taken it seriously. Last comment on that, Hugh.
I think a lot of the Democratic Party is reacting to the rise of the DSA and the municipal Marxists in both New York City and Seattle, and they're trying to remain relevant by explaining that they're just as radical as any radical out there, but they're not. They're mainstream, old-line, center-left Democrats who ought to hang on to their party and not let it get captured by the ideological extremes. Right now, it looks to me like a replay of 1972, way back when George McGovern took over the Democratic Party and took it over the left cliff in 1972. That's what I think I'm seeing with my friends in the Democratic Party who've lost control of their party to left-wing lunatics that are very young.
Hugh Hewitt, thank you. Much more to come on all of this as we cover it for everybody watching. Thanks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.